Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Card Shop. I'm the big dog. As always, I'm here with my co-host, Magic Mike Fruitman, owner of Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Colorado's best card shop. And today we're happy to be joined by Sean Bennett, owner of Steel City Collectibles out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And to make Sean feel a little more at home in our thematic ways, we are going to broadcast from lovely Heinz Field.
Nice.
In Pittsburgh. So Mike doesn't like it, but Sean and I both do, and that's just how life's going to be for Mike.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Broncos always have our number.
Not in Pittsburgh, they don't. And, you know, in 05, they didn't have our number. When they were real sure they were going to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden they got their heads kicked in at home to us before on the way to Detroit. So, you know, it's fun stuff. They were just all happy we beat the Colts the week before. It's like, oh, we can't beat Manning, so you beat them. I was like, be careful what you wish for.
I never lived down that Tebow game, though.
Oh, God. Yeah, and they followed that up by getting blown out by the Patriots. So, you know, you got to do something with those kind of wins. So that's probably enough heckling of Mike and his Broncos.
That Tebow game has been great for me. Sorry, I know we're talking cards, but since we're talking sports, like, it happened right around, like, dinner time, and the wife's like, hey, if we don't get moving, we're not going to go to dinner. And I'm like, honey, it's overtime. And we had literally gotten out of the driveway and we're like about to go forward. And it's like Dave Logan's yelling, he's at the 40, he's at the 50. And I'm like, and I just stopped. I quit looking at the radio, like looking at the radio is any difference. And I just turned in and looked at my wife, and not joy because we had won the game, but just like, we should be inside. Why are we not inside? And it's great because like anytime the game's going to overtime, she's like, I want to get going. I'm like, nope, Tebow game.
Yeah. Can you guys still see me or not?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see you.
Okay, so I can't see you guys. I don't know what I did on the screen here, but.
Zoom rookie.
Zoom rookie here, yeah. So, I can smile into the screen. I don't need to see you. You can make faces at me if you need to.
Yeah. So, you know, Mike, you talk about that. I left the famous Reggie Miller game where he scored all the points in 9 seconds. I was at a girl I was seeing at the time's brother's house with her, and we were late going home, and we left with a minute to go in the game. And when we got in the car, I'm driving. I finally find where the game is on the radio. And the radio guy from the Pacers, his name's Mark Boyle. And his literal words were, I cannot believe what I just saw. And I was losing my mind. I was so frustrated and angry. Like, so that was a hurry up and get home. That was, you know, VCR days. So I had to wait to see it on the news. I never saw it live. So anyway, so Sean, just briefly to start up, you know, you and I met, you know, as a customer of yours and of Mike's both. You and I met physically at the Transcendent event in Phoenix. And, you know, as I said, our first experience together was at Hooters watching the UFC. But I'm real curious how you and Mike got to know each other, because obviously there's been a few times I've been in his shop and he's been on the phone with you or talking to you. So I'm curious how the two of you got together.
Wow, Mike, I don't even know if you know the answer to this one. I couldn't, me and Mike have done business for so many years now. I couldn't even tell you the first time we crossed paths. I mean, we saw each other, we couldn't even been the National because Mike just went to that Chicago National a couple years ago. But I believe it was just at one of the random industry summits throughout the years, and just struck up a conversation there and just hit it off. And, you know, I've read his articles all the way back to the card trade days. So I knew a lot about his shop, and you know, once I got to meet him, like I said, we hit it off and been friends ever since. So it's been great. What's
your recollection, Mike? Is that the story? You tend to be the archivist of the knowledge of the room, so.
It's actually kind of nice to not have a completely embarrassing moment where I met somebody where I didn't trip or say something horrible and have them go, oh, yes, by the way, I do work for Panini. Nice of you to say all those lovely things. You know, it's when you meet everybody at the industry thing, I mean, there's literally just hundreds of people. So fortunately, there's no incredibly embarrassing moment where, you know, I tripped into him or knocked his drink out of his hand or said something horrible about his company. So that's good.
That happens. I'm sure it happens sometime. So Sean, how'd you get started in all this? So, you know, personally, so you growing up, you probably had cards and whatever it was, but how did that hook in? And then talk us through how you got into this biz.
Well, what it kind of was, you know, always had cards, you know, as a kid, nothing really major, but I was at a Toys R Us one day, it's probably like 11 years old. And they had a trading card price guide there, which I actually had no idea cards had any value at all. I actually still have a copy of it to this day, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I went in to the drawer. I had a card and started looking them up. And one of the cards I pulled out was 85 Topps Don Mattingly. And I looked it up. I mean, before I found this Mattingly, I found I was looking up other cards, to be like a quarter, whatever, a dime. You know, then I found this Don Mattingly 85 Topps, and it said $10 book value. I almost jumped out of my clothes at that point. Like 11 years old, $10, like $1 million. So, it's, you know, my head started, things started going through my head. I was looking up every card. Actually had some 867 Fleer cards in there, no Jordan, but some stuff was still pretty good value. So I immediately started, whatever money I had, I started going to the local store buying 89 Topps baseball. And, you know, it's funny because some of the rules still apply today with some of the off-the-shelf retail merchandise. I was buying them out of 89 Topps baseball every day, to the point where the store owner cut me off. And there was even like a sign posted like, "Don't sell any more baseball cards to this guy because he's not."
You look like at the post office with your face on the wall.
Yeah, no face. Yeah, no face picture. But it just said like, you know, basically they started limiting the number of packs per person, so I was keeping it unfair for everybody buying the 89 Topps baseball. But so I had to find other outlets for cards. So I started going to flea markets with a couple of friends of mine, and you know, Woodland Flea Market, which is some of the Pittsburgh area residents would know, it's just an old drive-in theater. But it was $8 a table, and me and 3 friends would take 2 feet each, you know, $2 a piece, just start selling cards on the weekend. And you know, I got to give my parents a lot of credit for this, because my mom let me store the cards in the corner of the living room. You know, most moms won't do that. And my dad, who never turned on a day of overtime in his life, always worked overtime on the weekends. So he'd drop us off at the flea market on the way and then pick us up at the end. So that was great, considering, you know, we're 12 years old, didn't have a car. And so only one of my 3 friends that did at the time kind of stayed the course for a little bit, selling at the flea market. The other 2 just immediately bought video games with it. I wanted to buy the same games, but I figured since they had them, I just play them at their house. I just keep buying the cards. But what really got me started, like on the business side of things, was that same thing, like doing the flea market, like that was really cool with all the transactions and everything. But I need to get more money, need to get more cards. So, you know, like any kid, you know, I'd want this, I'd want that. My mom or dad would say, you know, get a job. Like, all right. And I keep asking, you know, get a job. So like all of a sudden, like this job thing seemed like a really cool idea. But so I'd walk to like the local just convenience stores and like Shop and Saves. I know you guys don't have those out there, like the Giant Eagles of the world and stuff like that, and tried to get them to hire me, and they just laughed me out because I was 12 years old. But they said maybe you could get hired at 14, you know, but 16 is like the minimum age. It's like, what the heck am I going to do here? So I started delivering newspapers, but that was clearing about $20 a week, and I just spent every dime on more cards to resell at the flea markets. And so then I determined, since I also played baseball, I need to stay in shape for baseball. So I figured I could do 2 newspaper routes if I jogged instead of walked the route. So a lot of people probably don't know what the heck a newspaper route is at this point, but
no doubt.
yeah,
What's a newspaper?
Yeah, so I got the 2 routes, which actually turned out pretty good because, you know, being in Pittsburgh, I know you guys have this in Colorado, you know, the winters aren't that favorable. You know, a lot of snow, but for me, like if it would snow, it was like a holiday, because not only would school be canceled, but now I get to shovel everybody's driveway. And the fact that I already had those newspaper routes, I already had the personal connections with all the people.
Sure.
So it was just great. You know, I'd start making $200-$300 a day. It got to the point where I just pray for snow. You know what I mean? It's just, snow away. You know, not only I'm not in school, but I'm killing it, you know, shoveling driveways. So that's how I built up a lot of the money I could. And by the time I was 16 and could get a quote unquote real job, as they say, I was already doing enough with cards where it wasn't even an option. Just licensed the business at that point, and started doing shows. I had to do you know, local shows. First show I did out of state was when I was 17. You know, Gibraltar Trade Center. I actually had to call back home to get the parents' permission to get a hotel room at the Inn at the time, because I wasn't 18 to get to get the hotel. But and then, you know, Michigan became like a second home. I'd go to Taylor, Michigan, and Mount Clemens, Michigan, so twice a month, and did the show there. And then at one point, in probably like 19, 20 years old, I was doing 35 shows a year, because that's kind of just before mail order kicked in. And then year 2000 when I first got a website, and we're on about year 20 of trial and error of a website, because it never slow down. There's always different things that go with it. But you know, it's just grinding away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the contrast. So Mike, as I've jokingly said, Mike's one of the OGs in the industry for a number of
Right.
reasons. I mean, he's a great link to what's going on in a big part of my lifetime with cards, and he knows about it. But he also is he's self-admittedly he's an old school guy, and tech is pulling him forward. But he has his singles nights, he has stuff online, and guys like you guys have been pushing forward. You guys have been pushing the tech forward to where it needs to go with all the everyday breaking and all the stuff online. And I'm curious, how did you get to like what you've seen, how big breaking has become, and what have you seen, like how has that evolved, and what have you seen happen, and what are the big catalysts that you've seen that have driven it?
Oh, is that
Sean, I think you froze. All right, go ahead.
All right. So when I was first introduced to breaking, it was actually, you guys know Chris Justice, Cards Infinity. I met him at the 07 Industry Summit, and he was telling me I was doing YouTube videos, but actually his customers wanted him to open the cards for him. And I said, that's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Who in the world is going to want these cards open for them? So, I watched it, and then I watched it evolve over the years to the point where it's almost like status quo now. What's nice is we've seen an influx of younger generation into this business, and younger generation, I know my daughters especially, just video content's so big now, and the more that evolves, the more the breaks have evolved, just the more the shopping habits of the younger generation are evolved, and they're introduced to different industries, not only ours but other industries as well. And it's been a really good thing because providing that instant entertainment. And with everything going on with the pandemic now, when this all started, I grabbed my breakers and I said, look, I actually think things are going to increase here on the break side. Wasn't sure how they were going to, go overall, but I said from a breaker side, I think we're going to see more business because there's no shows, which was a lot of, face-to-face transaction. Shops are forced to shut down. There's no live entertainment, period. And you guys are going to be the live entertainment. Is maybe you want to say silly as it sounds, but literally, like, people are still looking for any form of live entertainment. And you see,
and there was no gambling, and this is gambling
exactly
too. Let's not fool ourselves.
I've had multiple people say I can't get my gambling fix. I had one guy say he plays Keno all the time and can't and play Keno. He's driving him crazy, so he's gonna open cards. I've seen a lot of that, but the way that breaking's evolved has been pretty impressive, and I don't see any slowdown. I don't see any slowdown just for the fact that it's an online community, and it's a great thing. I don't know how else to describe it, since that it's almost like you bring the card show to the shop, or you could bring the card show to the break room. I mean, there's so many different opportunities to run with from breaking that I see no short-term slowdown.
Yeah, and there's so much. Go ahead, Mike.
Sean, you brought up, this is really tough for me because I got two Seans. Each of you guys, you just say Sean, you know who you're talking to. Anyway, so and you're both Sean B's. So anyway, so like Sean, you bring up the point where you thought breaking was going to accelerate, and obviously spot on there. And then you brought up the other part where we do deals, and you're obviously selling to public as well. So what were your initial concerns? I mean, sports went away, and we're kind of trained that when sports go away, the collectors go away. So what were your thoughts beyond breaking in terms of your retail aspect?
Honestly, Mike, I thought things were going to hit a complete brick wall. For the fact that what we have is discretionary income, so to speak, and then on top of that, no sports. So what's going to drive the players? And so, I mean, I know we use a common source of like DealerNet for buying and selling boxes, eBay, etc. But I literally pulled all my buys down when that happened, because I figured we'd have to reevaluate the entire market over the 2 weeks after that. And for the 1920 Prism basketballs, all the stuff that was climbing and hard to get, all of a sudden I was getting emailed 5, 6, 10 times a day with these same products. I should have bought them, but at the same time, it was like, okay, where are things going to settle while this is all going on? And instead, I mean, you prepare for the worst, but the orders keep rolling through, and you see the orders rolling through almost like twice as much as last year. And now you go home, you watch the news, it's all doom and gloom. but yet you're setting records online. There was nothing really making sense to me if I watched the news. But it kept my mind off of things. I like having this warehouse, having someplace to go. And, having a business, there's always something to do. So that definitely, I felt bad for people who are just really just stuck in their house and, with just, I guess, a wife to argue with or kids to argue with, because it's just natural. If you're stuck inside and have no place to go, it's just going to happen. It gets very frustrating. We weren't meant to be, locked up and quarantined up. That's why there's prisons, right? But we're almost like we're living in our own prisons. But yeah, I mean, the business has been phenomenal since this all happened. Strangely enough, I still call it strangely enough because it's still, it just all depends on what industry you're in. Sean, we talked about your industry a little bit. Still thriving there, but then you could see how, if you own 10 apartment buildings, all of a sudden, chasing money all the time and through no fault of your own, places like Dave and Buster's. I mean, when can even a place like that even reopen again? It's sad for people working there because you really don't know, as things start opening up. Obviously, more cases are going to rise, but I'm very interested in the data that we get from this that can hopefully help us open more places, because I'm a big fan of with UFC, and I really like the way Dana White's handled everything personally. I like that even that fighter that got COVID for that first event, it almost seemed like they were going to squash that. He's like, no, we're not squashing that. We're going to quarantine this guy off. We're going to see what happens, get the results from that, and let other leagues learn from the data as well. And
PGA, I think PGA is doing a good job too with their events and how they're managing it. And it seems like at this point, NASCAR is doing a pretty good job with it as well. So, we're going to find out next week when the Indianapolis 500 lets 175,000 people go to Indianapolis Speedway to watch the 500. Having grown up in Indianapolis, that if you have not been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you have not seen something that's truly one of the man-made wonders of the world. To see a venue where 350,000 people go, for them to let half that number in, I don't know how they do it logistically, but I guarantee you every major sport that we follow, football, basketball, baseball, they're going to be watching how that happens, because that's tons of alcohol is consumed at that thing, and it's 3 or 4 hours you're sitting there. If they can get through that in some reasonable fashion, there's hope for live sports to have some kind of a startup sooner than otherwise planned.
Yeah, and I think as business leaders, we all have to worry about the solutions, not dwell on the problems. That's kind of where I've been on the situation going forward.
And I'm an owner of bars and restaurants and a suite, a company that it's basically like StubHub for suites at sporting events. Okay. And I can tell you, they aren't having the same success that the car industry is. Right, they're struggling, and how we get them back, I don't know. But man, there's a lot of that small business. A big part of our population works in the hospitality industry, and they are taking it on the chin right now. And man, we got the sooner we can figure this out, the better off we'll be. So.
For sure.
So Bennett, so are we ever? Couple questions. Are we ever going to use the term junk wax again? Do you have any junk wax? And is 2013 football your favorite year and product ever?
Yeah, that one 13. I still like 13. Yeah, but I mean, there's got to be something said for Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins, right? Especially going into this year. But
I noticed you didn't say Le'Veon Bell. That's kind of weird.
Stop it.
If he comes back to Pittsburgh, we'll talk. But otherwise, he sold himself out for a bad team.
He did. For less money.
Yeah. But yeah, that negotiation backfired on him.
Yeah.
But junk wax. So first, I did buy 89 Topps baseball this week, which is, speaking of the devil, it's the first time I've had the boxes back in a couple months. But I did pay. I guess I shouldn't say what I paid, but why not? But I did buy them for $10 a box. Whereas last year at this time, it's probably $3-4 buy. But yeah, it's pretty amazing that some of the stuff that was left for dead in the 80s and 90s. I mean, obviously basketball has exploded, but even the football and baseball products from those years are becoming in demand again, because we are getting this group of new collectors, and with it, there's a lot of obviously we know there's a lot of grading going on too, And, not everybody can plunk down the few $100 or $1,000 boxes for some of the new stuff now. But at the same time, you can buy a 89 upper deck box for $200. Still have a chance at a Griffey PSA 10 that, now I think it's what, $1,000, $1,200 somewhere around there, or am I off on that one? But there's a lot of opportunity like that. I'm trying to think 89 tops if there's any PSA 10s worthy of value, but I know I might even go buy a Greg Jeffries 89 tops no matter how many packs.
Greg
I
Jeffries.
couldn't get
The
one.
names.
So they cut me off, but I think they searched the damn things because I never hit a Greg Jeffries in every pack I bought at that store.
So what's been the product that like
And their pretzels were stale.
oh my God, that's terrible. And they had bad pierogies. So like, what's been the product like in the Indiana Jones warehouse? And I've never been to the place. Like, what's been the product that like you got rid of, and you're like, I thought I'd never get rid of all of those.
You know what? That's the beauty of the internet. There's so many things that we buy now that I never even thought could potentially sell. We were even selling boxes of collectibles, basketball. It's pretty crazy how you can have somebody buy, let's say, a Prism basketball box and also put an 89 Topps baseball box on that order. It's kind of surreal when you see some of the orders come through. And those are my favorite ones. When people are buying stuff from the mid-90s, those have my most interest to look into. And just because that's the primary era when I started selling cards. And so that stuff gets me the most interest. I don't know if that answered your question, but
well, I mean, I don't know what your closeout buying is. I mean, I looked at your list. I don't look at them as much anymore. But because it's difficult to retrain myself that 2013 select is $109 box.
Right.
It's difficult to. I mean, I've got it at that price. I mean, I sold the box yesterday, and where did I go to get the price? I happened to go to your site because I can't keep track of everything. Literally, I've got the big three that I do, and I don't have a price tag on any of my boxes because I can't keep up with things. It's easier. It's not apathy, but I can't keep up with things. I don't know when 2013 whatever is going to suddenly become all the rage, and just 1 week it is. So like I'm sorry, I actually forgot I was completely going.
Were the Menendez brothers in any photos in 13? If so, you might see it run.
No. They were not. I wish they were, though. That would have been good. But no, Mike, with the Select obviously exploded probably further than anybody thought. And like the brand itself has exploded across the board from every year. And, we were talking about, now that, say, Mike Trout rookies have exploded, not everybody can afford them now. So you're seeing the parallels and the refractors gaining some steam and momentum. And that's why you see the Selects rising like they're rising. They're still affordable box break. You still get more than 4 cards in a box when it comes to those. So there's, from a break standpoint, if people are doing them breaks, you get a lot more cards per team. Collectors get a lot more cards, a lot more grading opportunities, a lot more value actually on some of those boxes. So for what some of the cards are starting to sell for, you're seeing the boxes catch up on some of that value. With the junk wax, you don't see, if some of my buys, on the network we talked about, I haven't updated them for so long because there's really no reason to. If you look at the transaction data, some of those boxes haven't sold 5 or 6 years. So what we'll do now is, if I see a 1995 Topps baseball and the buys are 55, but somebody's up there at $80 and there's not even another box on eBay or anything like that, I'll just buy that box and just put a price on it on the website because, we try to carry everything on open from every year. And it's a very exhausting task, but when the market's strong like this, I guess sometimes we pull back on that a little bit to concentrate on the price updates that are taking place on the newer product. But yeah, sometimes that's a 3, 4, 5 hour a night job where I still control that myself. Yeah, it's a big task, but I mean that's our niche in this business. We can go all the way back, like I said, Card Trade Magazine. I used to read about Rob Veras carrying every single, and I thought it'd be cool to do that with every box. So, kind of based off the same thing.
I remember
you guys used to give me a lot of trouble in high school too because I'd be reading that magazine and they'd say, they try to confiscate it and they would have had to absolutely kill me to confiscate it. But I'd be caught in the damn SCD was so big, it was bigger than the textbook. You couldn't just hide it in the textbook. They're teaching. My advice back then would be to make it book size so we could hide it and read it while the class is going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we got to go back and tell Scott Kellnoffer to revisit the size issue with Card Trade. I still find those things in the back, and to this day I cannot throw them away. Not because I'm in it, but just like the other day I literally found the What's Hot list, And I'm like, oh my God, I have to read what was hot in like 2007 for some reason. And I saw the hype for the 2007 or whatever, the Fort Lauderdale event. I'm looking at it going, oh my God, I looked at that thing.
That's one of my favorite ones. I liked it. I love Fort Lauderdale. So
that was that was the Judy Heater one where she said, "Don't buy Bowman." Thanks, Judy, for trying to sabotage the entire industry. Can you imagine life without Bowman right now? No, I don't want to do that. So it's going back to. I mean, I remember when COVID got rolling. I remember trying to talk to you on the phone, and literally you're like, "Dude, I can't talk to you," because you were pulling orders. You had short staff, and you were the one in the warehouse pulling these massive orders for people. Here it is. Like, I mean, we talked about what Wax has done, but like, and you bring up, are you working more now than you did before?
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that 1 week we had where we literally shut the company down for a week, but we didn't shut the company down. Like almost like I had the same attitude where I heard Rob Veres on your podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, where I think he said his son would have shut down the website and said, "Just shut that down over my dead body." I took the same approach to that. I mean, we were talking 20 years of work, and like before that happens, they're gonna have to the government will literally have to cancel mail order to get me out of here. But yeah, we ran everybody remote. Well, obviously, you can't run shippers remote, but we let everybody just take 1 week off so we could analyze everything, get like the social distancing down packed, and really understand what the rules were. But I still ran the whole show here myself. But we had to put a 1 week shipping delay on the site because after going, I came. I was here a solid 11 hours straight, which you generally work more than that a day anyway. But when you're actually pulling the orders and shipping the orders to it, a little more exhausting than I'm used to. I quickly learned I'm not 20 anymore. But by the end of the day, Friday, I was caught up to Monday morning's website orders at about 11 a.m. So it's just one person. I learned one person can't do this, but it was definitely an interesting experiment. And same deal though, it kept my mind off of everything just because everything was so doom and gloom. No matter what you'd read, see, some people say you can't touch cardboard. If you can't touch cardboard, I would have been dead instantly. But I kind of knew about this thing a little bit before because it happened in China first, and we do, some business with some companies there. And I did the research before they even sent me a shipment, before it was even a thing here in the States. Like, can this be transmitted by shipments? And the data I had at the time said no. So, I mean, knock on wood, nothing happened with any of those shipments either. But so we knew, I guess, a little bit about it beforehand. But obviously, there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
More of a generic industry question. I don't know of any shops. Now, I know shops have been shut. Like Mark and Donna Rubin and American Legends in New York. Like, they had to obviously shut where they're located. They could not be open. And Mark went in and he was picking up orders. He wasn't open. Are you aware of any stores that have shut down that are not coming back? I mean, I don't know of anybody who's not coming back from this yet.
No, not yet. And that's a good thing. I mean, there's been a couple smaller restaurants in our area. And then there's been a couple, I noticed like karate studios the other day, stuff like that have shut down, and you see the for lease space on this, so they're not coming back. But no, knock on wood, not yet. And as long as there's no other second shutdown, I don't think that's gonna. I think some people will be able to muscle through it. What the positive of all this is, like I said, one of the things I think as a business owner, when there's a problem, you have to figure a solution, and a positive solution at that. There was a lot of, I know there's a local shop here in the area that never did any type of online or any type of like Instagram breaks and stuff like that. Now he's worked into the routine where he's doing it 2 nights a week because he couldn't believe how good the success was. So if anything, one thing, and Mike, you probably go through this a lot, would be like, hey, I want that 30-hour day. So there's a couple things I can get done that I've never been able to get done. So I think this allowed some extra time for some people to sit down and say, hey, I have that time right now. Let's figure out how to get this done. And that way I can work it into my business routine when we get back up to normal.
I always have the regret seeing
the projects, and we got a rainy day pandemic. So now the rainy day, all the projects can get done.
I always think of it's a weird movie to reference, but I think of the end scene in Schindler's List where he talks about, like, I could have sold these cufflinks, I could have done more. And I think of card shop owners in much the same way. Like, you bring up a 30-hour day. You have access to a 40-hour day. I mean, because I'm the same way. We're in shop owners. I think we're among the most resilient people. I mean, we in terms of changing with the times, we're able to pick up on trends. And now the idea share. We have a Facebook group for card shop owners with over 200 people in there. So the idea share is when something picks up in an area, it's able to grow across country so much more quickly. And you're right. I've seen a lot of shops that, like you say, that have started embracing the online presence, who have gone from threatening to throw breakers outside of 30-story windows at the Flamingo to now that's literally their bigger focus than before. I mean, or it is their focus, and their shop is not an afterthought, but so much less of a thought. It's incredible to see what shops have done. And you answered the question before in terms of local stores that are going out of business, but on the nationwide level in terms of sports card stores. Bennett, have you heard of shops that are going out of business, or pretty much everybody's sticking around?
Well, I guess I've only heard of one, and that was told to me it was a leasing issue. And
Okay.
that was a company out in Delaware. But otherwise, I don't know of any other card stores that have closed the doors.
Yeah, this seems like the salad thing. I mean, quite honestly, this is
Hey, Sean?
John, your audio is coming through choppy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parker, you may want to pause.
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, I had a little technical difficulty. Apparently, the Barker half of the Sean B contingent's audio wasn't working, so we're back in it. And so, Sean, when this whole pandemic started, one of Mike and I's first podcasts, we talked about what was going to happen to the hobby as a result of this. And we have everything you guys have talked about: the gambling aspect, the lack of sports, and it being fixed.
Cut out again. Gotcha.
So, when the pandemic started, all the gambling, everything, we expected it to work. We didn't know what was going to happen, but that we thought there was an opportunity for there to be some volume. I don't think anybody expected this. And so let's flip the script now, assuming that we're going to have some kind of a ramp down of the impacts of the shutdown and stuff in pretty short order and sports come back. What do you think is going to happen with the industry forward?
I still personally think the industry is going to stay strong. I still think demand still exceeds supply. I even think the manufacturers are going to have a harder time getting autographs and hard goods from some of these athletes right now until we get some more some more answers. And I don't think it's from their own fault. I think they're trying hard to get the stuff done, but I think it's all depending on the athletes and the leagues to sometimes put some of that stuff together. Me personally, I think not only do I think it's going to stay strong, I think you're going to see more and more of the investors throwing more money into more of the modern day players. You're seeing stuff like, obviously 52 tops, high grades are great cards, manos are strong, but they've kind of hung around the same levels the last couple of years. Whereas, you'll have like the LeBron James exquisite about to end now. It's going to be well over $1 million. You're going to have a lot of these modern cards that have never sold or surfaced at big money. Pulling big money. I would have never guessed that McDavid rookie would have closed, for 135, after the juice recently. That was at least double what I thought. Well, I thought maybe it had an outside shot at 75,000, but 135, I mean, close. Me and my business partner, Ken, we looked at that Crosby 10 the other day that was on eBay. It's the only 10. It was at 60,000. So what do you think? So I don't know. We talked ourselves out of it, trying to go at a max of 75. Completely talked ourselves out of it. Then the damn thing closed at 125K. And so, I still like, personally, I think Ovechkin's going to beat Gretzky's goal record. So I still think there's a lot of room for growth there. It'd be interesting what his next Cup rookie goes for after that Crosby going for 125. There's a lot of still untapped areas. There's some big names that have not, I don't think, peaked yet, especially from the 80s, 90s. I think there's a lot of room for growth as we see more money get thrown into the category. But I personally think it would be more on when I say modern day stars, like the LeBron James, Mike Trout, et cetera, and maybe less on the Mickey Mantles. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think as that generation gets older, the younger generation doesn't really relate to those guys that well. So I think I see them putting more of their money towards the LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, cards. And that's just my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's just where I see some more of the dollars going now, because I'm seeing it go that way for the wax as well.
So, Sean, here's the question. You could buy a box of wax, any wax that's out there, or you could buy a single of a player. What is the one thing you would buy because you think that's going to have the most value in the future?
Wow. Okay, that's putting me on the spot. Well, you know what? Me personally, I thought that McDavid, Cup rookie still had a long way to go. But now that it's at the level it is, I don't know how high your return's necessarily going to be on that one.
Right.
Oh boy.
It's 2004 wax, of course. Anything with 2004 with Roethlisberger, of course.
No, I really like John Morant too. So his RPAs are slipping a little. I don't want to say slipping a little. They're slipping a little to where I think it would be a strong buy. I think he has tremendous upside. I mean, for what people are paying for the cards now, I still think, we need to get a good gauge on what the Zions are selling for. There's just too many bids that haven't
Right.
proven.
That's the problem with eBay, man, the shill stuff. And as you know, I hit one and I sold it, and you guys are both aware of what I sold it for, but we're not, out of respect for the guy that bought it, we're not sharing worldwide. But I think that, it's insane how much those are going for when a Luka Doncic of the same quality is selling for half that. And it doesn't make sense, but the hype is real, and it's part of what this whole thing plays out for.
I think the Bulls have a good young team too. I mean, they have Kobe White and Zach LaVine is a stud too. He's won 2 slam dunk competitions, and his rookies and autos are relatively inexpensive right now. And like even from a wax standpoint, when we're looking for different buys and different opportunities, a lot of times we'll go after the stuff that's that hasn't already run its course. Because no different than buying stocks. If you buy in at the wrong time, you're going to get burned. And I've never made money on a stock in my life, so I got to stick to cards. So I'm the worst stock picker you ever meet.
Yeah. Yeah. So
actually, if you bought opposite me, you'd actually crush.
Yeah, that's why I don't bet on sports anymore. I basically figured out that doing the not Sean would make you a lot of money, so I had to get out of the sports betting business.
I understand.
So Wheeler is calling you and asking you what you're not doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He did say he was killing it recently in the stock market. So yes, he's taking whatever I say and going complete opposite, and I'm just taking a small fee.
Yeah, so you're the don't pass line guy. I get it.
So because you're investing in wax, is there wax that I don't know what you hold back. I don't know what you got in the warehouse. I mean, I just see the list. Is there wax that you think has great potential right now? That certain years, certain brands, just in general.
What's funny is if you're buying this for investment right now, I mean, it's probably, I guess, it's just like having a diversified portfolio, right? We talk about 89 Topps baseball, and people could laugh it off that, it's 89 Topps baseball, but it's still a 36-pack box that, you can still find them at shows at $10, $12. The cost to make that box now, the cheapest product out there right now is what, opening day? I mean, so you can't produce a product that's going to come out cheaper than $20, $25. So if somebody's just looking for safe money, they could buy something like that, pull it out of their closet in 5 years, and it probably doubled in price, or even if it went up 50%, that's still a 10% return a year, and you could actually, take that $10 box and sell it to somebody now for 15 if you would the quick, 50% return. So from that standpoint, the cheaper product, there's always opportunity. On the newer stuff, I guess it is a little more of a gamble. You're seeing that now with some of the 2020 football came out real high, it retracted a little bit. But at the same time, now that it retracted, it's probably a good time on a couple of SKUs to get back in, because once these guys start playing, if you're bullish on the class, now would be the time when you'd want to buy in. But heck, you even saw that with Topps Finest Baseball last week. The pre-sales were probably close to 200 a box. Then it retracted to 150. Then now it's back to 175 and selling well. So a lot of times, all the pre-sales are speculation until you actually see what comes out of the product and the content. But investment-wise, I guess, the Prisms of the world, the Topps Chromes, they all seem historically to the Bowmans to carry value. But just a lot of it just depends when you buy in too. We saw I think, Mike, you talked about Bowman, how it came out at its peak. I saw you talking about that on the podcast a little bit ago. Then it retracted a little.
Uh-oh. I think we lost Sean. I'm going to pause.
Okay. So do you just want me to start at Bowman? So you take 2020 Bowman, for example. I mean, it came out probably at the highest Bowman's ever come out at. And then it retracted a little, but the crop is very strong. I mean, the sky's the limit with Jason Dominguez as well. So don't take as this a little slight pullback as caused the panic. If anything, I think, products like that, now's the time to buy in. Anytime you get to buy in on the dips on some of those products like Bowman, Chrome, Prism, et cetera, you got to capitalize, and that's where you can make some money.
Yeah. So long term, I mean, it seems to me like I do the dynamics around, and I got out of baseball mainly because it's too long of a bet. I mean, if you open a box of 2020 Bowman, you got to put the players in the closet for 5 years, and if you don't sell it instantly, you aren't going to know a damn thing for 5 years because there just aren't that many A-Rods and juniors that come up, the next day anymore. So when you look at basketball, though, I mean, that's a global sport, and the demand for those cards comes from all over the world, and it feels like a good play. I think 1819 and 1920 were two of the best draft classes that have been out there in quite some time. I actually think 1920 is a little top heavy and 1819 is a little more balanced. What do you think is going to happen to the product for those 2 years, like the unopened product, when the 2020-21 class comes out, which is arguably not nearly as talented as what we saw in the last two? What kind of callback do you're assuming the existing product that's out there?
I still think, the demand is so strong right now, and the nice thing is the 2021 boxes aren't going to come out anywhere close to what the 1920 boxes came out at, and I think that's going to make a lot of people happy. And the consumption right now is incredible, and to your point, basketball is just such a global sport. It just continues to grow globally. In fact, some of the other sports too. I wish they got a chance to play those baseball games in London this year. I know, our overseas business with football even picked up playing the games in London. So as sports are trying to move more globally. Realistically, now it might be a 2022 thing by the time things get going with that. But the possibilities are endless when it comes to international business with trading cards.
Yeah. So but Sean Bennett, sorry. If you could go back to the beginning of this, can you name a few products that you wish you had not sold?
To the beginning of the week?
No, I'm sorry. Mark,
beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, beginning of the pandemic. Well, I'll go a little bit. Every single product, Mike. There's, but you can even take that back to the national, which seems like, what's funny because the national would be a month from now, but last national we were selling. We were buying 1819 NT at 4,000, 4,100 and selling it at 4,500, 4,600, and we're only talking 11 months.
Yeah.
Right now it's we had sold a case a couple weeks ago for 20,000. Right now that case is probably realistically 23 to 25. But to have that type of return on an item that quickly, one of the hottest items at last year's national was the optic fast break, because you also got 4 silver packs with it, and they were at the show between $50 and $60, and now it's a $450, $500 box. It's just absolutely unbelievable how some of the stuff is gone.
I had to move. I had 2 cases of 1819 Prism basketball that I had sat away and parked away, and I had to move them. I sold them earlier this month because I couldn't hold them anymore. It was like there's juice left, and I know a year from now I'm going to look back and go, damn it, there was juice left. And I know it's going to happen. And you guys deal with this every day. I don't know how you do it because it's like wax is cash. In the old days, cash was king. Now wax is king. I don't know how you guys ever can sell anything.
Well, you can never guess 100%. Mike, sometimes, you probably sold at the highest level and a lot of times sold at the lowest level or somewhere in between. I know a guy that put away a couple cases of 09 Bowman draft pick baseball, still has them. And, when they hit 10,000, you got to sell these now. Then when they hit 20,000, got to sell these now. Then all of a sudden, the case was arguably 60,000 before the trout card sold for 900,000. And to me right now, that case, I don't know, might be pushing, 80 to 100,000, who knows? But like to your point, Sean, I would have cashed out a while ago and just tried to buy back in.
Yeah.
That's one thing, and Mike probably knows this too. You just can't be a collector on this, just constant buying and selling. And there's been no shortage of sellers during this pandemic, but there's also been no shortage of buyers, which has been great. So it's been a good combo, because I thought originally it was going to be all sellers, no buyers.
Right.
The ironic thing of having both of you guys on the video at one time is about a year ago, I sold a box of Topps Chrome 0304 to Sean Parker. And right when things started getting sketchy, I had an order in the mail to you that part of it was 2 boxes of 0304 Topps Chrome basketball at a
Yep.
different price. And I got that check, and I'm like, oh man, is he going to back on me? Oh my God, like, what's happening in sports? I mean, it was, there was that fear that people were going to do ridiculous things, and obviously you're established. There was no real concern about that. But I think we rolled those at like $5,500 a box, and now where's 0304 Topps Chrome pricing?
Now, I mean, it depends. You'll see boxes as low as say 8,500 on eBay, but we're still a strong buyer between 7,500 and 8,000, depending. And yeah, it was funny because when Mike did sell me those, I actually, when I got them, he called me to apologize. And
That's Mike.
I literally got them like the day after the pandemic went down.
Yeah.
It's like world's worst timing it could have been. But yeah, no, we always honor every deal. So there's no problem there. But I just thought it was funny he called to apologize. And like at the time, yeah, he felt like he could not have timed it any better, and I felt like I could not have timed it any worse. And then over the couple months, it completely flipped.
Yeah.
Sean, you missed my face palm there. You don't have access because I wasn't talking, but there was a decided face palm a minute ago on selling those boxes. I still have 1 box of 09 Bowman Draft, and actually I just landed a box of 0304 Exquisite before the LeBron card came up. So we'll see how those play out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation. So Sean, we've gone technology notwithstanding, we've gone for about 50 minutes, and I got a couple of questions just to wind down, and it goes quick. I'm telling you, it's just conversational. First of all, is there a collectible, sports related, that you own that would be the last thing you would ever sell? So screw the shop owner stuff. What is it you own that you would just never get rid of?
Yeah, well, my dad's favorite player when he was growing up was Mickey Mantle, which kind of worked out good for him too, even though he was in Pittsburgh, that he got to trade all his Pirate cards for Mickey Mantle cards. Unfortunately, he didn't keep any of them. But we went to Cooperstown when I was about 12. And on that road, they had, like, to me, like, on the road, I think it was like 10 or 12 memorabilia stores on that street for Cooperstown. To me, I didn't want to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, I was so into baseball cards and stuff like that. I went to the baseball card, and I just wanted to hang out at those memorabilia stores the whole time. And
Sure.
I bought a Mickey Mantle signed baseball from a place called Mickey's Place that was in Cooperstown at the time. And since that was my dad's favorite player, and we bought that on that trip, yeah, that thing's never getting sold.
Yeah. We all have something. We all have something, right? And that's just how it plays out. And that, mine is, I think, of all the ones I have, and it varies. I have one of Frank Thomas that, because he was on a team that I was playing against. So,
that's cool.
So that kind of resonates pretty big. And we were on the bad team. He was on the good team. But guys like that, it's all experiential, right? It's like, and I have I guess a 67 mantle. I think roughly, because there's a picture of me as a baby, and that card is on the shelf next to my crib. And so I had to go get that card, and I was like, that card's never going anywhere. That card is like, it's like that card was the first card that was ever associated with anything I did. So we all have that hook. And that's why I think the hobby's going to be doing fine. We're all, you guys are in the business, and I'm a collector, and I couldn't tell you a Van Gogh from a Van Gorder, but I can tell you a good basketball player, a good football player, and a good baseball player, and I'm willing to bet money on them. And those are assets. And what I see is build an asset that, has value for my family in the future. And the first thing you need is there needs to be a market. And so what I'm seeing and what you guys are promoting and doing is the market is here and it's growing, and there's another generation coming up. Mike and I, when we first really I started leaning back into the hobby heavy. I was sitting in his shop just watching who came in, and it was guys that looked a little bit like me and their preteen kid. And I'm like, okay, here we go. The cycle's coming. And it's just like Star Wars, right? They run a new three series movies every generation to return the desire. And I think we're seeing the hobby do the same thing. So when you look forward, what innovation or thing is going to happen in the hobby in your mind that's going to be the next thing? Obviously, NT basketball, they have blockchain cards now, and I think I've cornered the market on blockchain logo men, which to me, it's kind of a Dutch tulip still. I'm not convinced it's worth anything, because I can take a picture of a card and it feels like it's the same thing. But what's that next innovation you think is going to happen that's really going to drive change in the hobby?
I tell you what, well, we have a couple ideas that I still have to keep on the wraps, but part of the expansion plan here moving forward. But the items you mentioned, are great. You know, some of the stuff that they've thought of and that they've done on their, like the manufacturers have done on the websites, has been pretty innovative. I'd like to be able to tie into some of that somehow, like even like say an Upper Deck EPAC. I'd like to be able to offer that service on our website somehow. See if there's a technology to do that, so other stores and stuff can do the same. I actually think it would increase their business and increase our business at the same time. Whereas anytime you see some of the online exclusive products, I think there could be a way that we could all tie in, even on the virtual card side of things, where everybody can become a part of it and shops can make money off of it too. I think that'd be a cool thing that can get done with some technology. I mean, with technology, anything's possible, right? So it is going to be interesting with the different technology that comes up and different innovations that come into place, how either the manufacturers or guys like us run with those. But we do have a couple in the works that I hope to roll out here in the coming months.
So I'll give you a couple minutes here. We want to wrap up. We're pushing on an hour, but I want to give a couple minutes to, as a thank you for the show, promote anything you want, give us some words about, what you want to let people know about.
Well, I mean, we're going strong. It's nice that we have we still have a couple guys working remotely. We have the majority of our staff's back in place. We got to the position now we're able to hire again. So that's good. We brought in 3 people over the last 2 weeks, with a 4th one coming in next week. So we look to continue to, our website, steelcitycollectibles.com. We sell worldwide. That's, to me, has been the coolest thing about the internet itself. We talked about some of the quote unquote junk wax. I mean, it's just really cool to sell a box of, 93 Flair baseball to Germany. That stuff just fascinates me, and it will continue to always fascinate me. But the internet creates so many different opportunities. We do a lot with live breaks now. It's funny, like I said, 12 years ago, I thought it would never work. But instead, boy, was I wrong there. And one thing, like I said, as a business owner, you just got to learn to adapt. If people keep asking you for blue T-shirts and you're only selling white T-shirts, it's not going to work. You have to listen to your customers and what they want. And as that evolved, we evolved the breaking side of things. We have Tyler at night. We have Steve during the day, and Brett does a couple days a week in addition to doing our Gold Rush product development. We do a lot with the Gold Rush line with the repackaged memorabilia products. You can find those on the website as well, or in Mike's store sometimes as well. Nice. But yeah, we're just full speed ahead. Looking forward to being able to get back to the shows again when those start back up. But to right now, like I said, everything that was on that 30-hour day list on things where now is like, okay, I'm not traveling to the National for a week. What can I put myself in national mode when that happens. Like, for example, if I know the National, I'd be tied up from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I just say, okay, let's get that list of things to do. And today at 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., we're figuring out something on this list that knocks finally off the list that's been on there forever. So that's kind of like the approach we're taking. Things we couldn't get done before, we're getting done now. Any different types of technologies that could make things better on the back end for us and give me more time to just simply buy and sell, because that's what I enjoy doing the most, is what we're putting in place right now. And full speed ahead, man. I mean, this is all I've ever done. Never had any other job just because nobody would hire me. So their loss. And so, well, I guess that's a lie. I did wash dishes with my buddies for 2 hours one time because they all worked at a catering company. I thought it'd be cool with that. And after 2 hours of that, I said, you know what, guys, I'm done. This is it.
That's how I was with hay baling.
What's that?
That's how I was with hay baling. I was like, one touch of that, it's like, this ain't for me.
I understand completely. But yeah, I mean, it's a passion we still have. So, hard work got us to where we are now. I always say, like, plenty of people have outsmarted me over the years. You just learn from those. But I promise I'll never be outworked. So just keep trucking forward and doing good things, hopefully for the industry and and our customers.
So Sean, thank you. I'll let Mike have some last words too. But for me, thank you for coming on. I think you're.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I think people will enjoy the experiences and what you've shared with us. And so, Mike, I'll let you have the last words on this show.
I get the last word. I never get the last
Yeah,
word. This is
you get
cool.
the last word.
No, Sean, Bennett. Just thanks for being like a great business partner. It's been fun working with you. God, it sounds like a eulogy at this point. No,
If I get hit by a train on my way out, there you go. I do have to cross train tracks twice a day, so there's a chance.
No, I like what you said about working harder. I don't know of an industry, and I joke about sort of like drug cartels building like tunnels under places to like get drugs places. I don't know an industry where people work harder and we embrace it. I mean, most of the people, it's 5:01. I'm done. I can't wait to get out of here, and they unplug. I don't quit thinking about the shop. It's really tough. I mean, there's very few moments where I'm not like watching a TV show and going, okay, how can I incorporate this into what I do? And getting an idea from this. I go to a grocery store and I look at, where they put the gum and I look at, okay, I got to have supplies by my register. And, just every single thing is a reminder about how to do our business. So I don't know anybody who works harder about this. So, I appreciate hearing the stories about how you took it on. And thanks for the incredible packaging you did. Every order got here perfectly. So thanks for that. Oh, and if you want to sell back the 0304 Topps Chrome, please let me know.
No problem, Mike. Well, it's always great working with you. And you talk about how your mind's always churning. I think that just I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think like no matter what business you're in, that's always got to be that way, right? I mean, we were speaking of, you have Heinz Field in the background there. I think it was 2 years ago, whenever Patrick Mahomes scorched the Steelers for 6 touchdowns. And, we're sitting there and my wife's like, "Are you seriously working right now?" I said, "Well, the Steelers are getting their ass kicked. I'm on DealerNet right now buying all the 17 football because I'm going to figure out a way to make money off this game if I'm going to have to sit here and watch this debacle." Sure enough, by Monday, I got a front row seat of kind of like his, not necessarily coming out game, but it was a game that kind of really put him on the map after that point.
Yeah.
So,
Sadly.
Yeah, some of these things you just have to kind of foreshadow. You can never jump in too late, but some of the stuff you have to foreshadow and just take chances on. It's try to guess right 9 out of 10 times, you'll never get them all right.
Well, Sean, we started with the Steelers, and gladly for the two of us, we ended with the Steelers, and sadly the end was a bad note. But on behalf of Mike and I, thank you again for being on the show, and we appreciate it. Folks,
thank you guys.
Like and share and subscribe to this thing, and there's more coming. And I hope you have a great day.